Today we are going to analyze what is meant by quantitative easing. Yesterday I could not remember this word quantitative easing. Actually, this is a name for increasing the money supply in the economy. When central bank increases money supply in the economy, so it is called quantitative easing. And how central bank increases the money supply? For example, when commercial banks, they have purchased the treasury bills or securities from the central bank, and at the maturity date of that security or treasury bill, central bank purchases back the same security or treasury bill along with interest. So interest is paid to the commercial bank on behalf of the treasury bills it has held with it. So this is called increase in money supply. So when increase in money supply is taking place in the economy, it will reduce interest rate, and ultimately aggregate demand in the economy will be increasing, which is used to reduce unemployment in the economy by using this quantitative easing. So quantitative easing means what? To increase money supply, to increase money supply in the economy, to increase money supply in the economy. And how it will take place? It will take place whenever central bank injects money into the economy by buying the securities from the commercial bank, which it has previously sold to the commercial banks. So securities means the treasury bills. So treasury bills, they are sold previously to the commercial banks. Now they are purchased back by the central bank, and interest is paid to the commercial banks for the period they had held these treasury bills or securities. So when money supply is injected to the economy by the central bank, it will reduce rate of interest in the money market. Like I said, this is money, this is rate of interest, this is money demand, this is money supply, which is fixed by the central bank in short run. So when money supply is increased by the central bank, now see what is happening. Rate of interest will go down. So when interest rate decreases, aggregate demand will increase in the product market. What is happening here? I am taking the real GDP, and this is the general price level. This is aggregate demand. This is short run aggregate supply. So when aggregate demand increases, actual economic growth will take place. Remember, real GDP is increasing due to increase in aggregate demand in the economy. Now at the same time, what is happening in the labor market? In the labor market, what is happening? Labor demand will shift rightward. And when labor demand increases, more employment opportunities are created. So due to increase in more employment, unemployment will fall. So basically, this phenomena is used to reduce unemployment in the economy by using the quantitative easing method. So quantitative easing method, so quantitative easing method is that in which money supply is increased by the central bank in order to reduce rate of interest in the economy, and rate of interest when it falls, investment in the country, the funds that are left over, interest rate which is dependent, which is causing investment to rise, and due to increase in this investment, aggregate demand, remember, that will shift rightward. Producers are buying more capital goods in order to produce more goods and services. As people are having more income to spend now, the interest rate is going down, they can borrow money from the financial institutions in order to spend. So this increase in aggregate demand can be due to increase in investment by the private producers, and when aggregate demand is increasing, it is causing the labor demand to rise in the labor market and unemployment will be falling. So basically quantitative easing means to increase the money supply. This is recently used by Japanese government in order to reduce their unemployment level. They started to reduce their rate of interest in the market in order to encourage investment. So quantitative easing method that was adopted in order to combat unemployment in their economy. So this is called now a phenomena of quantitative easing, which I could not remember yesterday. So that is the meaning of it. It is coming to our exam as well. One or two papers of Cambridge University, I don't remember the year, 2016 maybe or 2015. In data response question of paper 4, there was a question about quantitative easing. So if we do not remember it, the compulsory part of the question will be left over. So keep it in your memory what is meaning of quantitative easing and how will it work. How will it work in the macroeconomy? This is the central bank approach. You can say this is also a type of a reflationary monetary policy by using the money supply and rate of interest. Aggregate demand is increased and by that unemployment is going to be reduced by the government. So this is called quantitative easing. Now come towards the monetarist thought about macroeconomics. Previously we were talking about what is meant by Keynesian thought, Keynesian versus monetarist. What are they going to see about the macroeconomics in the country, about the macroeconomy? Keynesian thought and monetarist thought. First of all, Maynard Keynes, he gave his role of government in the macroeconomic activities because in 1929, I told you earlier, in 1929 there was a Great Depression. There was Great Depression in the world economy. In the world economy. So at that time, classical thought of Adam Smith that was prevailing in the study of economics, and you know what Adam Smith was arguing. He was of the view there is no need to intervene in the macroeconomic activities of a country by the government. Government should not have any role in the macroeconomic activities. The prices and wages are flexible to adjust the economy. Okay, so any change in aggregate demand will be adjusted by the changes in prices and wages. So when there was a Great Depression, there was unemployment in the economy, in the world economy. So at that time, Maynard Keynes from Cambridge University, he gave his economic thought. Actually, Keynes was also influenced by Karl Marx, who gave to the world the planned economic system, or you can say Marxism is a type of economic system in which government is given the whole role, sole role of the government is there in order to allocate resources in the economy. So government was giving the maximum role in the economic activities of a country. So we say, so Karl Marx, he gave the 100% role of the government, but Maynard Keynes, he said government should intervene in the macroeconomic activities if there is Great Depression. Economy is stagnant. Aggregate demand equals to C plus I plus G plus net exports. If you say remove this net exports, if we talk about in a closed economy, see over here, when we divide the whole equation by the level of national output, okay, when income level is increasing, so aggregate, this part will be decreasing. We now aggregate demand is now falling. There is a stagnation in the economy. It can only be increased if government spending is increased in the economy. Then the whole private sector will also be taking initiative to start investment whenever government is taking the risk of spending money in order to accelerate the economy, in order to increase the aggregate demand in the economy. So first of all, if consumption is falling, investment is falling, there is no government spending, overall aggregate demand is falling and there is going to be unemployment, and it is called the stagnation thesis. That means the economy is not going to get rid of massive unemployment because there is pessimism among the consumers, and due to that they are not buying more of the goods as more unemployment is there. And investors are also looking at this thing that consumers are not spending money because of more unemployment. So at that point they are not going to increase investment, so economy is going to be stagnant. So that stagnation can be removed when government comes into the picture. Previously this was a simple and closed economy where there was no role of government. Now government comes into the picture and it starts spending money on the development projects to create more employment opportunities. So when more employment opportunities are created, aggregate demand in the economy will be rising because people are employed now, they have income, and when aggregate demand is increasing, so private producers are observing this thing that now consumers are going to spend income in the markets, they will increase investment, then the whole economy will be out of this depression. So according to Maynard Keynes, he was of the view unemployment, as in his time, unemployment, that is the main macroeconomic problem of the government, and in order to combat unemployment, there should be the fiscal role of the government. Government should spend money more than the taxes, it should create a budget deficit temporarily, and then it will be removed in the future time, according to him. So unemployment can only be removed by fiscal measures where government is playing its role of increasing government spending in the economy, and that will create employment opportunities, and due to that unemployment will be decreasing. What monetarist thought is there? Monetarist thought that was led by Milton Friedman. Actually, he was the follower of Adam Smith. His thoughts are about classical economics. He said, when government is going to increase its spending in the market, in the macroeconomy, actually it will increase the money supply, because whenever it is spending more than the tax revenues, so it needs to borrow money. So increasing government spending will increase money supply in the economy. So money supply, that will increase. And according to monetarists, increase in money supply will be causing inflation to rise, or we say general price level will increase during the short run or in the short run. Actually, the Keynesian thought that was giving us more inflation in the period of late 1950s or early 1960s, when due to increase in government spending there was inflation at that time, because people were having more money to spend but there was less number of goods and services supplied, so inflationary pressure was building up. Okay, so Milton Friedman at that time, he said this increase in spending will increase the borrowing of the federal government, and due to that, when it borrows money from central bank, money supply will be increased by printing new notes. and when new currency notes are being printed, there will be inflationary pressure, and money will be losing its purchasing power. Okay, cost of living will increase. So we say, according to monetarists, inflation is the main macroeconomic problem. They give priority to control inflation rather than the other macroeconomic problems. So they say, according to Milton Friedman, so whenever money supply is going to increase in the economy, that will cause inflationary pressure. So economy, according to him, it is inherently stable. Any changes in money supply will cause instability in the economy. Economy will become unstable due to the erratic changes in the money supply of the country. So money supply, that should be controlled by the central bank in order to control inflation. So according to Milton Friedman, he said the government should remain non-interventionist because its intervention in the macroeconomic activities will increase inflationary pressure by increasing the money supply in the economy. So according to monetarist thought, this is a monetary policy which can control the macroeconomic variables, or it can damage the macroeconomic variables when money supply is going to rise. And according to them, there is the most prior economic problem of the country is inflation rather than unemployment. When unemployment is controlled by fiscal measures, money supply will increase, and due to that there will be more inflationary pressure which is building up. So government should remain non-interventionist in the macroeconomic activities. Otherwise there will be erratic changes in money supply and there will be increase in inflationary pressure. Okay. Now come towards what is meant by liquidity preference theory. This is the liquidity preference theory. This is called LP. Liquidity preference means LP. This is also called money demand in the economy. According to Keynes, money supply is fixed by the central bank during the short run. So we say any changes in money demand will change the rate of interest when money supply is fixed. So according to that thought, what determines the demand for money? Demand for money, or in his language he said this is called liquidity preference. People demand money or hold liquidity for three reasons. You all know one is called transactionary motive. Transactionary demand or transactionary motive of money, that people want to make daily transactions, they hold money. So in order to make daily transactions they need to have income. So this money demand can be the function of national income. As national income is increasing, so money demand will also be, you can write over here, this is money demand, money over here and income is here. So you can see this is the money demand which is now the function of national income. How people are receiving the income on daily wages or on weekly basis or fortnightly or on monthly basis. So when people are receiving money, they are going to spend it not on the very first day as they receive. Like if we people are receiving income at the start of the months, so none of us will be spending the whole amount of income on the very first day or within the few days of the month, because we have to make 1 month's transactions out of this income. So if it is consumed within few days, how to spend the whole month? This is called what? What is the frequency of income and how much income is received by the individuals during a month? If one person is receiving the daily wages, so he knows that he will be receiving the next wage by the end of the next day. So he has to make 24 hours transactions out of that daily income. And if a worker is receiving weekly wages, so he knows after the 7 days he will be receiving the next payment. So he needs to make transactions of the whole week. He is not going to spend all of the weekly income on the very first day of the week. So this transactionary demand of money or transactionary motive, this is actually depends upon the amount of income earned by the people and the frequency of income. Frequency means how many times a person is receiving his income from his sources of earnings. So if frequency of earning is high, income is high, then definitely people will be having more transactions to make during that period of time as they are receiving income. So this is the first motive of having money demand in the economy. The second motive about the money or liquidity, that is called precautionary motive. What it is? Precautionary motive. People are also holding money for uncertainties. Precautionary motive, like people do not know, we do not know about what types of uncertainties will be taking in our daily life. Sometimes we need to have money for uncertain situations, like to have treatment of certain diseases, which is going to be expensive for the people. So people are holding money for those uncertainties in which they are not sure about. Okay. So uncertainties, they are also present. So after fulfilling the basic needs and some of the wants, if people are having excess money, that can be used for uncertain situations. This is called precautionary motive. Businesses also hold precautionary money in order to meet uncertain demands during their course of businesses. So these two are called active balances. What it is called? Active balance. Both are independent of the rate of interest. Active balance means they are having perfectly inelastic demand because they are independent of the rate of interest. I say this much of amount of money that is used for transactions and precautions. Whatever the rate of interest is there, when people want to consume money in order to fulfill their basic needs and wants, some of the needs and some of the wants, they hold money. They cannot deposit this money with the interest bearing assets like bonds, shares or saving accounts, because until unless they are able to accomplish all types of their transactions and precautions, they cannot use that money for earning interest income until unless they are fulfilling their basic needs and wants. Okay, this is independent of the rate of interest. We say this is called active balance. Now the third motive of money, that is called speculative motive. Speculative motive of money. Speculative demand. What do you mean by speculation? We say there is some idle cash which is left over with the people when they are able to fulfill all their transactions and precautions. Still they are left over with plenty of cash which is idle now. Do you think this idle cash pays anything to the person who is holding it? It pays nothing, not even a single penny to its holder, because idle cash is not having any type of earnings once it is kept with us at home or not invested into any type of business activity. So idle cash is having an opportunity cost. First of all, what is alternate to money? Can I say bond is alternate to money? Or saving account which is also bearing interest on the savings, that is also an alternate to money. Okay, so when interest rate on saving accounts that is going to rise, so do you think it is wise for a person to keep the idle cash with him? Not at all. His opportunity cost of earning interest will be foregone. So when interest rate on saving accounts that is going to rise, its opportunity cost to hold idle cash will be increasing, and what people will be doing, instead of holding idle cash, they will hold less idle cash and they will deposit their money with interest earning saving account, and then this idle cash money demand will be decreasing. Or bond is having this shape. If I say this is a bond, coupon bond, which bears interest, there is a rate of interest of 10%. I am writing it 0.1 because 10 by 100 is called 0.1 rate of interest is there. Its face value is 1000 rupees. Like this bond is sold at the price of 1000 rupees, and if anyone is holding this bond, by the end of the year he or she will be receiving 10% interest on that bond. Like I say 100 rupees will be paid to this bond holder by the end of the year. Suppose on the 1st January it is issued in 2020, now at the 31st December of 2020 there will be 100 rupees which will be paid to this bond holder. So this is the face value. But we see the market price, the market value, market price of bond, it may go up, it is tradable in the stock exchange or anywhere where people are trading the bonds. So when its market price is going to be higher than its face value, like its price is 1200, so when it is sold at 1200, the 200 will be the capital gain out of this bond. So people are using bonds and shares in order to earn capital gain. So do you think when its face value is 1000 but its price is now 2000 rupees, so when one person has purchased the same bond at price of rupees 2000 and he is having an intention to sell it after the price has increased more than 2000, but if he is holding the same bond which he has purchased at 2000, he will not be receiving interest on this market price. Market price is not bearing the interest, but interest will be paid on face value. That's only 100 rupees at the end of the year. So that 100 will be 5% of this 2000. When he has purchased the bond at price 2000 rupees, interest on that will be 5%, as it will be only earned on the face value, which is the 10% of face value, but it will be the 5% of 2000. So can I write, when price of bond is inversely related to the rate of interest, when price of bond is high, interest rate on that will be lower. So do you think when price of bond is increasing, people will not be buying the bonds because interest on that will be low? And when its face value is 1000 but market value goes to 500, then people will start buying those bonds because interest on that will be increasing. So basically this is the phenomena of rate of interest and price of bond. This is I am taking money and this is the rate of interest. So this is liquidity preference in the economy. So when interest rate on bonds is high, it means its this price is lower, people are holding less money and they are buying more bonds. This is the only money they are going to have to hold. And when interest rate goes down, its price will be high. People will be selling those bonds rather to earn interest. So they are not holding bonds, but they will be holding more money. As interest is lower at that price level, at that time when price is high, people will be selling the bonds in order to earn the capital gain. So basically, rate of interest and money demand, they are inversely related. This is my point. When interest rate goes down, then the money demand will be increasing as price of bond is very high. Okay, and people will be selling the bonds at high price because they know this thing that in near future, if price of bonds start declining, they will be losing the capital gain. And no one investor is going to lose the capital gain. They want to earn on that bond. So liquidity preference shows that people are holding money for three reasons, and the last one, that is called the money demand or liquidity preference, that is downward sloping, same like the demand of any product we had studied in our microeconomics. Basically, rate of interest is going to be the price of money. So when price of money is going to decrease, people are demanding more money. Okay, so we say this is the liquidity preference which is downward sloping. So if I say how interest rate is determined in our money market, this is the money market, this is liquidity preference. If you see, this is liquidity preference. This is the money supply which is fixed by the central bank. So this is the equilibrium rate of interest in the money market. So when money supply is injected into the economy by the central bank through quantitative easing, you can see money will be injected and rate of interest will go down. And people are selling those bonds and they are holding more money because when interest rate is falling, so opportunity cost of money is lower now, so people will convert that money into their idle cash. So when national income increases, that will cause a rightward shift of liquidity preference. So when national income increases, liquidity preference will shift rightward, then interest rate can rise. So when money supply is increasing, interest rate will be falling in the market, and when money supply is decreasing, interest rate will be increasing. So this is the phenomena how rate of interest is determined in the money market. By the Maynard Keynes, he gave this theory that these are the reasons why people hold money. So one last thing of this chapter I want to complete, that liquidity trap. What do we mean by liquidity trap? Liquidity trap means when interest rate is already very low. Here I am taking money. When liquidity preference curve becomes horizontal or perfectly elastic, this is already very low rate of interest. You can see only 1% or less than 1% is the rate of interest. So when interest rate is lower, price of bond will be very high. And people think that in near future, price of bond will be falling if they buy bonds at high price, and later on price of bonds start to decline, they will be losing their money. So they do not hold bonds at that time when interest rate is very low. So at this point, if central bank increases money supply, there is no change in rate of interest. Interest rate remains same. Where this liquidity will be going? People are not buying the bonds. This increase in liquidity will be actually trapped by people. They are not going to because now in future the price of bond will be declining and they will be losing their money. So central banks offer central bank effort to reduce the rate of interest further lower to encourage investment will not be successful because of the liquidity trap which is present in the economy. People will trap that liquidity instead of increasing investment. Investment cannot be encouraged at this rate because people are not spending money, rather they are trapping it. So this is called liquidity trap. When money demand or liquidity preference will become horizontal or perfectly elastic, any change in money supply will not change the rate of interest, and this will be having the trapping of that liquidity by the general public. So that's end of our chapter number 9, and now we will be having 2 or 3 things in our last chapter to fulfill our or to complete our syllabus. Inshallah, if we are having classes in the coming week, we will be completing our A level syllabus for A2. So that will be done, and then you will be appearing for your exams after your lockdown, and you will be facing the whole syllabus questions in your final exams or in your mid-year exams, whatsoever they will be taken by the school. So they will inform you. So that's all for today. Thank you.